residential structure fire, 272 St. John's Golf Drive. All units respond to Alpha 5, Alpha 5.
We have a fully involved garage. Battalion 4 is going to be on scene establishing command.
Battalion 4 on scene, fully involved garage. Battalion 4 command, 345.
Rescue 17 on scene.
Rescue 17 on scene.
Rescue 17, you can go ahead and initiate search. Rescue 17's on search. Squad 17's on attack. Rescue 17 from command. I believe the occupants are in the backyard. If you want to confirm with them prior to making an entry.
Acknowledge.
St. John's command, all the occupants advised on the phone they were evacuating to the backyard.
Chief, I am unable to make contact with the homeowners. SO stated they saw 2 of them. 360 complete. I did not find any gas. There's a Generac that got shut down. Rescue 17 is going to make entry from the Charlie side.
Acknowledge. Only search survivable space. It's heavily involved.
17 acknowledge.
Rescue 17 command.
Go ahead.
Chief, we're on the first floor in the kitchen. You got heavy smoke conditions, no heat, no fire.
Acknowledge. Confirming heavy smoke in the kitchen but no fire.
The whole first floor.
Acknowledge. They're about to start putting a second 2.5 through the front of the structure. FYI.
Acknowledge.
Rescue 17 from command. Are you still interior?
We are, Chief. We almost got the full first floor cleared.
Acknowledge. We're going to get out of there pretty soon.
Acknowledge. We found the stairwell. I'm assuming we're not going upstairs.
Negative. I don't think there is an upstairs right now. Engine 16 on scene.
Engine 16 on scene.
Battalion 1 from command. Do we need to have Rescue 17 get out of there?
Negative. They haven't made it all the way to the back yet. They got another minute, maybe.
Acknowledge. Rescue 7. You copy that?
Acknowledge. We'll work that way.
Acknowledge. Rescue 17 is the only crew in there. Rescue 17, if you've completed a primary of the first floor, please exit the building.
Acknowledge. Rescue 17, working our way towards the north. Rescue 17, exiting structure with 2.
Acknowledge. St. John's, can you strike a second alarm for me?
Here we are, Watch Desk Podcast. Got the guys from 17, Battalion 4, Chief Smith, and Lieutenant Freeland. And
hello.
I guess today would be out of position, Lieutenant Wes Petty.
Sweaty Petty.
Yep.
Sweaty Petty. Yep.
Sweaty Petty.
Yeah, we can use that.
So,
well deserved. So, briefly talk about the fire we had last week, depending on when this podcast comes out, but a fire we had on your shift pretty early in the morning during CrowdStrike. Was that the technical term for it?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I didn't even know that thing was going on.
I didn't know it had a name, but okay.
Yeah, I think it's called CrowdStrike. So we'll kind of talk to us about the fire, Chief, what you saw when you arrived. Of course, the computer screen just went off, but you kind of have a mental picture of that. So kind of talk about it. We'll talk about your roles, and then I kind of want to get into the mindset, the tempo, what you guys have been doing training-wise, the trust between the company officer and the battalion chief, and just kind of spitball on some of those things, and we'll get on with our day.
I like it.
All right, so it's all you, Chief.
Talk about the fire first or culture first?
Yeah, let's talk about fire first so they can kind of get a heads up of what led to all this.
Yeah, so the fire came out, it was 4:11, I believe 2 shifts ago now, and it was right when that was going down, so there was no CAD. So it kind of throws you off your tempo when we were responding. Obviously, no one could pull up an address in their phone. You couldn't see it on the CAD. I believe 19 had to ask twice to hear the address, which helped me because like I didn't know where I was going either. I just heard St. John's Golf, so I knew the neighborhood. I ended up not needing the address because I could see the globe. But anyway, so I turned down the main road, and then I turned left, and I was there for maybe 45 seconds.
Yeah, we were surprised you
I could
pulled
see
in front of us.
Coming down because they were leaving St. Vincent's. And anyway, so I parked. I backed into the driveway opposite the house. It was a lot of fire. It looked like the 3-car garage was fully involved, extended completely into the second floor, and it was looked like it had a really high fuel load, like fire load, essentially. Yeah. So anyway, I park. It almost like distracted me for a second because it was so much just to see at first, and the street was empty. So
and it came out as golf cart fire.
Right, originally it came out as golf cart fire.
It's
so
not what you were envisioning.
So when I parked, I was looking for occupants, looking for someone to meet me on the street. Usually if your house is burning down, you're kind of like saying that's my house.
Yeah.
And the report originally said they were out. So I park, no one's there to talk. Rescue 17 pulls up. They pull past the scene to give space for suppression. 17 pulled up maybe a minute or two later, the squad. And I started giving direction. My first radio traffic actually didn't describe the structure. It just said, I believe, heavily involved. It didn't say like 2-story or anything like that. So I had to like reset, and that's why my second traffic actually assigns search and describes the structure a little better. And then I tell Squad 17 to go on attack. I tell Rescue 17 to go on search. At this point, I don't know how far the next companies are, so we're going to fully commit with what we have essentially at that point. So I tell Squad 17 to put a 2.5 on the garage. They came off the truck with urgency. They moved it to the A side of the structure where the fire was moving from the 3-car garage to the second floor. They put water on the front, so they put it essentially where it's advancing into the attic. Then they repositioned to the origin of the fire, which is clearly fueling the entire house.
And that guy was a handyman too, so he had like all kind of stuff in there.
Yeah, stuff was blowing up the whole time they were there. So they move to the Delta side, if that makes sense. And I see Rescue 17. They split to do their walk around. Lieutenant Freeland, he goes and gives a look down the Bravo side. Petty helps flake out supply, which kudos to that. Everyone should be working when they show up. And so with the 5 guys we had on hand, a 2.5 came off the truck. Rescue 17 is preparing for search. Engineer Markham got his own water. We ran out of water for 45 seconds.
Wasn't too long.
So, but a 2.5 wide open, with a 500-gallon tank, you're going to run out.
It's a minute and a half.
Yeah. And so,
He was actively working on getting his own water.
Yeah, for sure. Looking at the times afterwards, we were alone for actually 8 minutes. I don't know if y'all knew that.
Damn.
It's a pretty long amount of time with 5 guys, essentially. When you went around back, there's radio traffic if we listen to it, and I said, attempt to make contact with the occupants prior to initiating search. You said acknowledge. I felt like our traffic was all relatively calm. Then you go to the Charlie side, you say generator secure, something about utilities. Then you say can't find the occupant, making entry through the Charlie side.
Yeah.
I would just say we all go through this in our mind. Like we talk about what we're going to do, when you're going to do it, those kind of things. It's a little different when it looks like a 2-story house completely on fire. To have your friends on the back side of the building being like, hey, we're about to go into that. All right, well, John Wayne time, here we go. And in my mind, there's no writ. There's no one else there.
Yeah.
So it is completely an act of trust, I think, because you're relying on the squad to apply water where it needs to go. They're relying on you to be quick. You're relying on me to stay calm and kind of direct the scene, and essentially there's no one there.
Yeah.
And so you make entry, you get to the kitchen, you give me traffic, and you say heavy smoke. I think you say low heat, no fire.
Yep.
Yeah, that was his scan report back to you guys.
Right. Which now in my mind, I'm like, all right, we're still alone. They're in the middle of the building. Typically the kitchen's in the middle. Not hot yet. They can keep going. And I'm not going to tell you, you can see, I can't see. So I'm going to let you go. It's your call, essentially. And so I think that was an act of trust, too, to be like, all right, they're obviously going deeper into the building. And I think before that, I even say only search survivable space.
Yeah, I think you did mention them.
Which is almost like me talking to myself.
Right.
You know, you don't need to know that, but it's just like setting the tone of like, don't go upstairs if,
And I wanted to give you that can report because it was so different from the inside did not
match the outside.
Right. I saw that house when I pulled up too, and looking at it from the outside, you don't expect it to look that good on the outside.
It's almost the don't judge a book by its cover kind of thing. If you just see the still image or the video, it's obviously a lot of fire, but it felt relatively safe in there from what y'all were saying.
Inside, I mean, it was a different story from the front of the house on the back side.
Anyway, so I asked who's my second unit, and they say Tower 19, which is great. I mean, those guys work really hard, but I was still hoping for an engine because I knew I was about to put water on the fire. And so I literally say, like, vent's not going to really do much at this point.
Vent done.
Tower 19, pull a second 2.5. And so that was the second suppression on scene. Rescue 19 gets there at the same time. I tell them to pull a third down the Delta side. So if you're like mapping it out, picture a house to where the Alpha Delta corner is a 3-car fully involved garage that shares the attic space that's pushing the fire to the peak of a second floor and moving Alpha to Delta, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
So in my mind, the first 2.5 is putting heavy water on the source, the origin. The second 2.5 is limiting spread to the second story. And then the third, which was a cross lay, is going to slow the spread from Alpha to Delta to give my guys time to search. That was
your game plan.
The idea behind it.
Yep.
And so if you look at the times in the first 10 minutes that we were there, we had our own water. We had 3 hand lines surrounding what we could control, and then y'all were searching. I think it's my hand motion. Yeah, sorry. I was doing hand motions.
I was like, what is going on? It's like, what's going on?
Anyway,
is Bear eating pieces of plastic over there?
So yeah, that was how it was playing out in my mind. And Battalion 1 arrived on scene. They're going to become another set of eyes for IC. I asked him to do another walk around. I could see from where I was parked that he made his way to the CD corner of the structure. And I asked him, you can see better than me. Do I need to pull Rescue 17 out?
Right.
And he said it hadn't run all the way to the Delta side yet. So he said, y'all got about another minute.
Mm-hmm.
While this is going on, I can see the 2.5 flowing on the main body in the garage. The 2.5 is about to open up on the front door and the porch. And I give y'all a warning. Because in my mind, if they push to the middle of the building, they might have gone all the way to the front of the building, and 19 might be opening up like the hammer of Thor straight through the front door onto you guys.
Yeah,
I heard them.
So you heard it.
we were up there
to warn you. Around that point, you also say you found the stairs, and you asked if you could search the second floor.
Yep.
And I'm pretty sure I gave traffic of like, I don't think there's a second floor.
There's much there.
Well, we made it about halfway up the stairs, and it went from limited to visibility to 0 about halfway up the stairs.
Yeah.
So,
and again, as far as trust, you're in there. You could overrule me. I'm sitting outside in a car, and so if you had said no, it's tenable, we can do it, you would have been able to do it. But just from what I could see, it didn't look logical. And so, y'all made the call up there. I think y'all did a primary of the entire first floor.
Mm-hmm.
You give me traffic, they're going to start moving back towards the back. Because I tell you, once you complete your primary, once you complete the primary of the first floor, let's get out of the structure. Mainly because I wasn't seeing the change I wanted as far as fire behavior. So to have 2.5s across lay, I mean, roughly 800 gallons a minute, and to not be winning, that's going to start the clock of like, let's get out of the first floor. And so that was pretty much it, y'all. And the reason it was successful, in my opinion, is your traffic was clear the whole time. I don't know exactly where you are in the building, but I know that you're moving, and if you're talking, you're okay. And so you're moving around, and I knew you'd gone from Charlie side to A side. I knew you basically touched the front because you passed the kitchen, and then you moved back, and that was pretty much it. So I was happy to hear when you exited the structure. Ironically, when you exited is also when Rick got established. So hey, I guess somebody was there.
Done. Check off.
But yeah, so in the first 10 minutes, we had 3 hand lines deployed on the fire, water, and search of a really advanced 2-story structure. It's 4,100 square foot is what it ended up.
Whoa.
Wow.
being.
Yeah,
So it's a big number. It's a big house, and obviously it was gas fed because there's gas lines run through the attic. The source was a golf cart with a car next to it with multiple gas cans, etc. And I know when we talk about it, people are like, yeah, you're supposed to search houses, but when you see the picture, the volume of fire is really kind of cool to see, honestly.
It was an impressive amount of fire.
it was not what you were expecting based on dispatch either.
But the other side of that,
golf cart in the garage.
right? The other side of that is, I also knew with that much fire, you're probably getting lift inside.
Yeah, that's also a valid point.
And it's
Because as it's going to run above you, it's going to draw. It's not going to push down. It's going to push out because it's already vented. So I was like, they have time, and I figured y'all could move fast because you could see. And I knew as much as we trained, I knew you're not holding each other's hands. You're not choo-choo training around the first floor. I knew y'all were probably leapfrogging rooms, basically voice contact, et cetera. That's what I kind of pictured. But that goes back to seeing y'all train. I knew y'all. I had full faith you were going to do it.
Right.
And but yeah, that's basically the experience. And then after that, engine 16 was the next on scene. I relieved Tower 19 off the porch because I knew we were going to end up switching to master streams because there's only so many things you can reach with a hand line. And so that was the next step, was rotating crews to support, because at that point search is concluded. So now it's really just getting the volume under control, the volume of fire. So.
And I know too, like, I know showing up on scene, I was an hour late, I think, or whatever it was. And, you know, I parked and I walked in and I was like, why? There's got to be a hydrant closer than where I parked.
That was a
like,
second.
I was like, what is going on here? I couldn't believe, I was like, come on. I was like, hey, we're source pumping. That's great. And I was like, I'm walking down. I'm like, there's got to be a hydrant closer. And I look up and I'm like, oh, you got two hydrants.
We got two.
I was like, 17's got one right there next to him. And this is the second source of the air. I was like, holy crap, this is exactly what we're preaching, exactly what we're talking about.
And just, you know, big picture, multiple hand lines in service quickly. We operated multiple master streams. We secured a second water supply to supply the aerial. We had a second alarm. There was an injured firefighter with traffic that we managed.
A lot going on.
I would say from start to finish, we hit a lot of skills that we all talk about, and we might not regularly do them, but that was one of those calls where, like, looking back, I'd be like, we really did. We did a lot of things during that hour, and to not have the CAD.
Yeah.
And we did a full par. I did a roll call of who was on scene and who was incoming because there's nothing to reference. So
yeah, you're back to like Dewey Decimal Days. Is that what it is? The library, like
write it all down real quick.
Nice.
But I think it only worked because
back when Max Schaefer was alive.
Yeah, exactly.
He can't say anything. He is in the room.
He doesn't have a microphone. But again, I think it only worked because everyone communicated.
Yeah.
You know, like Grady's traffic on the door, he needed a K-12. It was clear. I could hear him. Markham told me when he had water, I could hear it. Freeland going in, I could hear it. 19 on the porch, relieved by 16. I think it all played out the way it did because everyone was able to hear each other.
Yeah, and I think that was A, communication from them, but B, also you in the vehicle listening to the traffic. You could hear,
absolutely.
Like, you know, they were giving clear stuff. It's not like they were garbled or anything like that, but you were sitting in the vehicle wide across the street from the fire. And
I think if
full attention.
Full attention focused on that.
Yeah.
And this, you know, everyone wants to be next to the fire. It's hard to stay in the car, I'll say that. And so I've kind of like changed my way of thinking of it because it's a way of communicating and hopefully keeping these guys safe, but it allows you to stay calm and hear the traffic. I never had to ask anyone to repeat. The ones I've done from the yard, I always have to be like, unit with your last traffic, repeat.
There's so much stuff
because you can't hear it.
There's so much stuff going on.
And the other thing is I have a window I can put up and down. So like when guys are coming up and they're wanting to say things, the minute I hear the radio key back up, I can roll the window and be like, I can't talk right now.
Yeah,
so,
or when you're ready, Nice.
All right, so you heard from me, now you ask them.
Yeah. All right, search guys. So you guys talk about what you guys saw, what you guys did. I mean, we kind of got the gist of it, but like
we were walking out of St. Vincent's and we heard it, and again on the way to the hospital, we're like, man, what an awful time to get a fire with no CAD. There it is. Difficult time. But yeah, so we were leaving St. Vincent's, heard it go out, got a good jump on it. Chief beat us there by seconds.
I was surprised to see Chief pull in front of us. I was like, oh, we got him easy.
Oh yeah. Even laughed because it came out as golf cart fire. So I even told Wes on the way there, I'm like, I'm just going to jump out with the extinguisher. No.
That didn't go.
A lot of fire.
You should have just jumped out with the extinguisher anyway. Just run out
just throw it in there, like in backdraft.
I was definitely shocked. It was getting it. It was good though. Wes Rockstar Parking pulled past the house. We got dressed quick while we were getting dressed. Squad pulled up. Made our way to the house, grabbed tools. Wes helped Tyler get some hose off the truck.
Yeah.
Chief said, make contact with homeowners. Supposed to be in the backyard. I know I went down the Bravo side looking for them. Didn't see him as I was making my way back and cross Alpha back down Delta. Wes got the Generac, shut it off, shut the power to the house. I went back there, made some brief contact with a sheriff's officer that said, I think I got 2 of them in the backyard over here.
Yeah,
so we
I
really
think.
couldn't.
I never saw the homeowner or anyone.
Yeah, so there was no positive contact with homeowners.
Did that change like your thought thinking?
Absolutely.
Like
like if I'm speaking to the homeowner and I am the only one home, I am me and my wife, whatever, out of the house, it does change things.
Yeah.
But so we definitely could not make positive.
Right.
We weren't positive that everybody was out.
Yeah.
So at that point, Wes was at the back door. It was cracked open already, and the conditions were good.
Yeah.
They really were, like, considering the amount of fire.
You're like, are you at the right house? Like,
is this the right house? This is like winning something. This is not bad. I mean, it was definitely smoky, but still had decent visibility. So we masked up. I got on the radio, told Chief, got in there, and like Chief said, like we were able to move pretty quick. Wes, rock star. I trust him. We've done lots together, so it's not like having to be right there holding on to coattails. We moved pretty quick. I did think about it as soon as we kind of got in, moving around a little bit. I wanted to give Chief that can report because I know how it looks out there, and it does not reflect that in here. Just to kind of buy us a little more time.
Yeah, I think that's super important, though.
Like, hey, this isn't awful in here.
Yeah, just like Chief said, trust thing. It's like, hey, this isn't bad. Like, even if we find somebody that's in here, the homeowner went back in.
Smoky, but nothing crazy. And it also, your rescue profile just went way up because it's not, horrible in here. So, gave the can report. We moved to the house pretty quick. The only time we kind of slowed down a little bit was towards the front because Chief had said something that the line was up there, and that was the only place I saw some fire, and I could hear the hose line. Talked to the Chief again. I was trying to listen to as much traffic on the outside to kind of keep an ear out what's going on. I knew they were putting a lot of water on it. I knew they were working hard to keep the fire off of us, but also listen. I remember when he talked to Battalion 1 about conditions. So I was trying to keep up with all that while searching. Wes was doing the heavy lifting.
Wes was doing Wes things.
Yeah,
I was kind of zoned in. I didn't hear you do any radio traffic.
I was listening. I was keeping up with Wes, keeping oriented, doing some searching, but also kind of listening to what was the picture being painted outside. Was it getting any better, or was it about the same, getting worse? And I knew that they were thinking, all right, how long are they going to be in there?
Yeah, how long we're leaving?
How long we leaving them in there? So. It was good, and then we got the stairs, super smoky. I knew what we saw when we pulled up. So I talked to Chief, and he's like, I don't think there's much of a second floor.
Yeah.
But it was. The biggest takeaway for me on that was just the difference between seeing it when we pulled up to actual conditions inside.
Yeah, and that goes to the walk around, right? Like, nobody ever would have went back there or even checked it out. Like, you would have never known.
You would have assumed.
Eventually it would have been just, but...
Yeah, it was definitely a better rescue profile than I would have ever guessed, and it gave us time to get in there and get a solid search. There was a little bit after the fact that we realized we didn't get, but we got the majority in a fairly decent amount of time.
Yeah. Now, did you guys search for tools? Did you have tools with you?
Wes had tools. I left mine in the front yard.
No, I mean that's that's what we're training right now, right? We don't.
Absolutely.
We're not pushing.
No. Wes had a tool because I always want to have at least one. He had one.
I think Brian's mysteriously walked off somehow out of the front yard.
They did. I set him down for a minute, and
how
it
that
happens.
is.
But no, as long as we have one.
Yeah.
And I knew he was going to be close, and I didn't want to take that time because we were on Charlie's side. Door was open.
Yeah, you're just lugging something around at that point. Nice.
I used the tick a couple times, and all it did was slow us down. Visibility was
because you had the visibility, so you're not actually relying on it as much, so to speak, I guess.
Yeah.
Nice.
It went smooth, went quick.
Yeah.
Spending time training with Wes, all that, it all adds to it.
Yeah.
It makes a difference.
Absolutely. Wes, what do you got? Anything? Quiet over here.
Yeah.
I am just.
I'm just listening to the wisdom coming from Brian.
All right. Here we go.
No, like you said, dispatch said that the homeowner was in the backyard, and we went around there, and there was no one back there. So, and I'm waiting at the door as Brian's finishing with doing more of a walk around or looking for the homeowner, and the door was cracked open maybe an inch or two, the back slider, and so obviously someone had just come in or gone out of that door.
Yeah, I mean, you don't know what they're going. They could have ran back in for dogs, fish. Whatever.
And
there was a fish.
There was a fish, and it made it.
Well, there was 2 fish.
Oh.
Only one made it.
Only one made it, but the other one's because I think a piece of ceiling fell in the tank. And
I think that's the most time I spent was when I found the dog kennel. I checked it thoroughly.
Oh yeah, we found dog toys. So I was looking in closets, under the beds, all that stuff for all animals.
Yeah, it kind of changes. I mean, talk about that. It changes your profile too. The dog changes the profile.
Yeah, there's dog toys and kennel.
Yeah, it was a small kennel, means small dog.
Running all over the joint.
Yeah, and inside, we stayed low. You had probably 3 or 4 feet of visibility as long as you stay low. And there was times when we got closer to the front, obviously we got less visibility. Yeah. We had bedrooms on the left side of the house with a Jack and Jill bathroom.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. So go through the bedrooms, through the bathroom, to the next bedroom, then an office. Through the kitchen.
Yeah. It wasn't bad to stay oriented either because it had that big, giant day room, kitchen.
Yeah, it was a big kind of...
So you knew that was the center of the house, and you could kind of base everything off that.
Nice. All right, so let's talk about kind of what you guys have been doing leading up to this particular fire. So kind of what I mean by that is, this isn't... You didn't just think about this fire as you arrived up on scene. You guys have been pre-planning it, especially Chief Smith and your battalion have been pre-planning this same fire, I think, for probably a year. I mean, I was still in training, so...
Yeah.
So...
Well, I've been the battalion chief for a year, and I believe the battalion's always been aggressive, but it kind of let us reset when it officially became mine. And we took a lot of time when I first got there to adopt the same vocabulary, the same rough plan when we arrive as far as what each company will do and what needs to get done. So I think that really helped. We talk about it a lot. These guys are professionals. Like that's a big part in my mind is they approach medicine and they approach fire with the right mindset. They come to work every day knowing they're going to go to both. And so it wasn't a fluke. I think what happened the other night wasn't a fluke. I actually think it's going to be the standard. And I think we as a battalion, and we're doing it as a department, we're going to adopt a search culture. And 100%. Essentially what I mean by that is when we respond to scenes, the assumption is the building's occupied. Mm-hmm. So the first companies are going to operate with the mentality of we're going to occupy the structure and search survivable space. Lines are going to get placed to make that happen and protect it. Reset the fire, buy us time to do it, and we're going to vent in a way to give lift for the guys searching, limit spread, and protect property. So
boom,
I think
mic drop. Yeah. Mic drop by Chief Smith. All right.
So I think that's what we executed the other night. So we talked about it that morning, and I also said that morning I was like, I'll call a second alarm. I was like, we're going to do it if we get a real fire. I'm not calling for relief units. I'm not picking and choosing. We're going to do alarms.
Yeah,
because historically that kind of draws maybe some complicated attention,
Yeah,
or maybe just
I think you did it relatively early. It
was about 10 minutes. Yeah, 10 minutes, and I could have done it earlier because essentially a 4,000 square foot house is basically a commercial.
Yeah, it was a big house.
It was a big house.
But anyway, so again,
small golf cart, big house.
Yeah.
We're operating on the same page, and I think the other part is what my guys believe, I think, because we've talked about it, is if we assume that the structure is occupied. So when we respond, that's the intent, is we're going to search an occupied structure. That also means to everyone else, well, now we know it's going to be occupied because it's going to be occupied by us.
Yep.
So I think that's a big thing, is seeing the guys stack up. Everyone went to work. Like when I told 16 to relieve Tower 19, it was smooth. The aerial transition to the aerial, just everything made sense, I think, because we talked about it as much as we had. And I think it's a good mentality. And the other thing is, I've been doing this too long, like 17 years, and my whole thing is I don't want to retire not having done the job, and I think these guys deserve the opportunity to do it, and I think they did it the other night. Like that, I know that sounds really simple, but no part of them were going to walk away the next day and being like, "Man, we could have searched
done
that."
something. Yeah,
no,
we
you
could.
didn't. Again, I know I'm getting on like a soapbox, but the other thing is the days of showing up and asking, "Are we going to search?" need to be over. The question is, where am I going to search?
Where are you going to search?
And so that's the approach. And
it'd be different if you get in there and you say, in gear, this is unsafe for me, so obviously this is not a survivable space.
Right.
But, go stick your head in and look. I mean, if it's really bad,
VES.
Right.
We got
what
targeted
do the
search
other rooms
areas.
look like? Right, exactly.
Right. Well, we give you gear for a reason. We let you run red lights for a reason.
Yeah.
Right.
I want
emergency lights.
Yeah.
Content.
yeah, exactly. So, but again, this wasn't something I wrote up on a piece of paper. Like, we collectively sat down as a group and like, who do we want to be? And I was very proud to see it show itself the other
and the
night.
whole battalion showed up and run through it. So
everybody went to work.
Yep.
Mm-hmm.
And that's the big thing is, like you were saying earlier, the trust. You guys have pre-planned this. The search culture, all that plays a role into the. This is their job. We're, new mission statement to serve those in need.
Yeah, I mean, it definitely helps too. I mean, Chief, we talk about it all the time, like his expectations of who's going to do what when we're arriving. Like, so he really doesn't. It's not necessary for him to give out assignments if he's not there yet. I mean, everyone knows what the plan is.
Yeah.
Based on when you pull up. So.
Nice. I love it. Anything else you guys want to add? We're pretty much wrapping it up. Freeland's like ready to go. He's like,
no. Well, and I'll say this too. There's still things, there's things I would have done different. Talking about the fire, like we're mainly focusing on the first 10 minutes, which I thought went really well. But there's other things that we could discuss as far as a second water supply versus supplying off the attack, whether that's needed, or we could talk about whether RIT could have put an unmanned line somewhere else to put more water. Like there's other things that we could tactically, maybe tweak and do better. But conceptually, I think everyone executed the way it was intended. And I firmly believe if someone was in there, they would have found them.
Oh, 100%. I have no doubt in my mind on that one. Yeah, I mean, look at the pictures. The pictures, prove that.
I'm glad we got a picture, because if you described it to people, they'd be like, whatever.
Yeah, what are you talking about?
Even on the golf cart.
I didn't get a picture of upstairs, but I went and did overhaul upstairs, and other than the roof, like the pool cues for the pool table were still sitting up there, like unburned.
That's pretty crazy.
Yeah, like there's, that was even survivable space. Kind of, if you knew you had somebody up there, you could have pushed up there if you needed to.
I wouldn't have guessed there was that much livable space up there.
Yeah.
And then most of it looked pretty good.
Yeah.
Well, it had that bead board, and the bead board was unburned.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
on the walls.
Yeah,
so.
There's just pictures hanging on the wall, everything. So
it's pretty nuts. Looking at it after the fact.
How much what burns, what doesn't burn. It's like holy smokes.
Mm-hmm.
So, well, all right. Well, I think that pretty much wraps it up. Unless you guys got anything, Wes?
No, I don't think so.
I'll teach you. Yep. All right, that wraps up the rest of it, and we'll see you next time.
Thanks, Nat.
Thank you.
Yeah, no worries.
Thank you.